To this day, I'm still wondering what the hell happened to this band. Damaar, which in Arabic translates to destruction, was a war metal band based out of Beirut, Lebanon, that was active from 2004 to the summer of 2006. Very little is known about this band, but I discovered them a handful of years back with their one sole release they ever did, that being a demo, Triumph Through Spears of Sacrilege. It contains 5 tracks and it's only 19.5 minutes long. The intro track that's titled That translates to either debauchery, sin, immortality, or vice, yet when I put it in Google Translate under Arabic, it translates to disobedience, which makes the most sense, considering that the intro track has audio of a beheading by Al-Qaeda to supposedly an Egyptian spy named Mohammed Mutawalli. Hopefully I'm saying his last name somewhat right. That really just sets the tone for the rest of this demo right off the bat. For the rest of its runtime, it's just unapologetic, raw, aggressive, mean as they come war metal that has a take no prisoners type of attitude that I have just always loved so much that honestly now the more I listen to this, I would say this is my just favorite war metal release in general for a lot of reasons which I want to touch upon really quickly. And the second track on here, which is clearly the fan favorite because it's the one that's most known about this demo, is the track Preaching for Mass Suicide. Because if you know this release just like anyone else who does, you got that one hook where he repeats, "Do you wish to die?" a dozen times that just gets drilled into your head. It's one of the only occurrences I can think of within war metal that there is a chorus, there is a hook, it's catchy, it's almost like anthemic, which is just such a weird word to attach with war metal out of all things. A little fun fact about that particular chorus that gets drilled in everyone's head when they listen to it is that it's not actually performed by the main vocalist of Damaar, that being Heathen. It's credited within this insert sheet that I have within my vinyl copy that guest vocals on Preaching for Mass Suicide by Filthy Fuck. And if you don't know who Filthy Fuck is, he's a part of another extreme metal band from Lebanon, that being Ayat. Throughout the whole demo release of Spears Through Sacrilege, you're going to notice that the vocals are executed in a more low, guttural, kind of like growl type of a pitch, where within that particular chorus it has more of like that high-pitched screaming, which is obviously executed by Filthy Fuck of Ayat. And to give you an example, I'll give you a side-by-side comparison of that particular chorus within Preaching for Mass Suicide and one of the releases done by Ayat, and it's very apparent that it's him. The other 3 tracks in this demo are The Goat Phoenix, Desecration, which is a blasphemy cover, because, you know, you're not a war metal band unless you specifically covered that blasphemy song, and the closing track, Ode to Blasphemy, Onward to the Gates of Mecca. The lyrical content within this release is pretty obvious, that being very anti-religious, and most particularly very anti-Islamic. Now, once you get past all the information that you can see at face value, this is where this band and release gets very intriguing because it's just submerged in so much mystery. As I stated earlier, they were active from 2004 until the summer of 2006, and they're from Lebanon. Now, let's assume around the time period when they disbanded, that being in 2006, they were either adults, young adults around the age of 18 to, let's assume, early 20s. Well, that would mean that their whole lives, they've grown up in a country that's just been surrounded by war. From the Lebanon Civil War to the Southern Lebanon conflict to the Shabbat farmland conflict with Israel, they've just grown up their whole lives with just being in a country that's always just had consistent fighting. The reason why I bring this information up that I find just so valuable when talking about Damaar is that it's a humongous reason as to why, for me personally, I have such an enjoyment listening to this demo. It's the only war metal release I've ever heard that has just like pure, genuine hatred and misery and anger coming from its overall sound. Where other war metal bands have more of like a flex and an act to showcase how fast and aggressive they can play, Damar's approach has always just been so much more genuine to me. It showcases that these are individuals just so pissed off and miserable in the environment that they've grown up in, that the only way that they can really express themselves as to why they're just so angry and pissed off is because they've lived in a country like Lebanon during this time period. Plus, I consider this one of the most ballsy extreme metal releases ever. Again, they're doing this in Lebanon around the time period of 2004 to 2006, and it states within the insert sheet that it was recorded in late 2005, yet it wouldn't be physically released by Nuclear War Now, the CD or the vinyl press right here, until December 5th of 2007, basically a year later after they disbanded. The reason for that is because originally when they were done recording this demo, they were distributing it through MP3 and not CD or any other physical media. That way they could shield themselves from all the religious fanatics and government officials that were plaguing Lebanon around that time period. Yet when we reach the end portion of the very short lifespan of Damaar, this is where it raises a lot more questions than answers about them. Because as I stated, they were active from 2004 until the summer of 2006. And what happened in Lebanon around that time period? Well, the July War of 2006 happened within Lebanon that would lead to a massive evacuation within that country with all the conflict. At this portion in the video, I hate to admit it, a lot of what I'm about to say isn't like factual evidence. It's more of stuff that I've read through either Reddit or a lot of people echoing what was said on the Nuclear War Now forums. So basically my resources stem from just trust me, bro, sadly. From what I've seen online that is at least consistent is that people keep saying that all three members of Damaar, that being Heathen, Napalm, and Nunrider, which is obviously their stage names, they all fled to Australia. Regardless to where they actually relocated, whether it be Australia or another distant country, it's a huge reason as how they were able to get in contact with Nuclear War Now. And even though they disbanded in 2006, it's the sole reason as to why the demo was released physically on vinyl and CD back in 2007, again a year later after they disbanded. There's also been a lot of rumors that after they fled Lebanon to relocate to Australia, they started a punk band, which there's no reliable source showcasing that as to what punk band they started. And I think that's a lot of false accusations by a lot of anonymous people on Reddit, because I think what they're mistaken is that the members of Damaar, well, they were actually in a few other bands before they started Damaar. According to the Metal Archives, the vocalist and the drummer for Damaar are brothers, and they were actually in a punk band called Benzene, where they played live drums and guitar for that crust punk band, which is considered one of the first ever punk bands within Lebanon. As well, too, those two members were also in a heavy metal band, again in Lebanon, called Night Chains, which is basically just Judas Priest worship heavy metal, again coming from Lebanon. But again, with all this information, it doesn't explain what actually happened to them. Where are they now? What are they doing? And the only thing I can find that supposedly explains what actually happened to them is one of the edits on their bio on their Last.fm, and their bio has been changed several times on Last.fm, but the most recent one was changed in October of 2021, and it states that the two brothers converted back to Islam. Only one of them is in Lebanon and the other moved to Iraq. And I don't really want to go any more in depth with this because it's not hard factual evidence. Again, this could just be all more rumors to add to the mystery of this band. So it really just, comes down to, I'd love to know what actually happened to them. If there is anyone out there that can add some resources or evidence as to what happened to the members of Damaar, I'm all ears for it, because there's just such a mystery as to what actually happened to them, other than everyone just kind of like agreeing upon the fact that they relocated to Australia. That's like the only thing people are kind of agreeing on. Everything else is just kind of like up in the air, and it's just always, just really intrigued me and left me with just such wonder as to what the hell happened to them. And that'll do it for this video. I'll leave links provided to both Damaar and Ayat. Great extreme metal from Lebanon that really, if you enjoy black metal or war metal, both bands will be right up your alley because it's top-notch stuff. And yeah, other than that, that'll do it. So like always, guys, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and have a great day.